Afflictions win. Oscar has been given to so many people with diseases, it should wear a hospital gown. I mean, blind, deaf, ALS, cerebral palsy, Alzheimer's, amputee. There's nothing more automatic. Well, except if you're mentally challenged in some way. The whole thing is so Hollywood. A room full of know-nothings who call themselves the Academy, making everyone tremble before their judgment, even though their judgment is often terrible and fails the test of time. Maybe the hashtag should be Oscar's so wrong. Citizen Kane, It's a Wonderful Life, 12 Angry Men, Singing in the Rain, Dr. Strangelove, Raging Bull, Pulp Fiction, goes on and on. Not a single Best Picture among them. Brilliant, brave, groundbreaking, intellectually honest films constantly lose to much more forgettable, trifling, sentimental stuff.
This year's Oscars just wrapped up, but the fallout isn't dying down anytime soon. One of the night's biggest controversies was awards going to people many insist didn't earn them. Bill Maher was among the loudest critics. The comedian absolutely scorched Hollywood producers for gutting talent in favor of woke agendas. His takedown was ruthless and unapologetic. So hit the subscribe button and let's dive right in.
Directors have to stop listening to the casting police and go back to doing their job, which is picking the best actor for the role. Now, I mention this because a lot of people lately are either apologizing for or calling on others to apologize for playing roles they call appropriation. James Franco was just chosen to play Fidel Castro, and John Leguizamo posted, "No more appropriation. Boycott. This is f***ed up. I don't got a problem with Franco, but he ain't Latino." Okay, but John Leguizamo is Colombian American. He ain't a Venetian, but he played one. He ain't a French little person or an Italian plumber, but he played them too, because he's...
Bill Maher is right on this one. Acting, at its core, is appropriation, stepping into lives, cultures, and experiences that aren't your own, and making them believable. That's the craft. There's nothing inherently wrong with actors of different races or backgrounds portraying real-life figures they have no personal connection to. In fact, that's what great performances are built on. What's become strange is the growing expectation that actors must apologize for doing exactly what their profession demands. Eddie Redmayne expressed regret over playing a transgender role. Scarlett Johansson stepped away from a similar project amid backlash, and Hank Azaria publicly apologized for voicing Apu on The Simpsons. That pressure doesn't come from nowhere. It's driven by a culture that increasingly treats performance as offense. Instead of celebrating range, it polices it, pushing actors to second-guess roles they were once praised for taking on.
How do you think people become actors? Because they want to spend their life not being who they are. Appropriating sounds like an unforgivable sin until you remember that's what acting is. That's why acting jobs are called roles. Sean Penn won an Oscar for playing gay civil rights martyr Harvey Milk. At the time, it was considered a courageous act of solidarity for a straight male movie star to play a homosexual. Now it's the opposite. Eddie Redmayne played a transgender woman in The Danish Girl, but now calls that a mistake because many people don't have a chair at the table. Well, actually, in movies now, they do. And what does it have to do with you playing trans? Does it then work the other way? Can trans actors only play trans?
Casting debates are at the center of this conversation. There's often little outrage when actors from minority backgrounds take on roles traditionally written as white or part of the majority. Halle Bailey, playing Ariel in The Little Mermaid, and the cast of Bridgerton, portraying historically white British aristocracy, were widely defended as progress. But flip the situation, and the reaction changes dramatically. When actors from majority groups step into roles tied to minority identities, backlash tends to be swift and intense. That imbalance is exactly what Bill Maher is calling out. If the principle is that identity must strictly match the role, then it should apply across the board. Otherwise, it stops being about fairness and starts looking selective, where the rules shift depending on who benefits, rather than staying consistent.
Isn't the best acting always about making us feel our common humanity beyond separate identities? A black George Washington in Hamilton, of course. But Ryan Gosling as Frederick Douglass? Yes, that would be problematic. Ditto Shia LaBeouf as Shaft. It's...
And here's where it all boils down: the slow erosion of pure talent and genuinely great movies. If Hollywood keeps doubling down on rigid cultural appropriation rules as the driving force behind casting, the industry risks sidelining skill, range, and storytelling in favor of box checking. When that happens, quality inevitably takes a hit. Look at the growing frustration around some recent releases from major studios like Disney and Warner Brothers. Audiences aren't just complaining about representation debates. They're reacting to weak scripts, forced casting choices, and performances that don't land. If talent becomes secondary to identity, you end up with films that feel manufactured rather than inspired, and viewers notice. The result? Less excitement, fewer